town, and I'm Tom Byrne, your host today, and I'm talking to Frank Moranville, a long-term veteran of senior affairs in our community. Frank, when did you first get interested in the senior center?
Well, it was a funny thing. There was several busloads of people came into the Rutland Fairgrounds from all over the state, and I never knew who organized them, or they were strictly on a picnic, and that was in 1965. And somebody called me up from the north part of the state because they had heard that I was trying to organize a senior group, and they asked me if I would appear down at the fairgrounds to help make those people welcome. I had a close friend that was interested, James Kane, at the time, and I called him up and asked if he'd go down with me, and he said sure. They had the farm machinery shed down there at that time, which was had a lot of benches, and they were able to seat that whole crowd there, but it was strictly a picnic, and I never knew who organized them or why they came. But that's the first time I ever saw a large group of senior citizens together, and it encouraged me that we could probably do something in that line to get a group together. So Jimmy Kane was one of my main backers, and then I got a hold of Fred Lafley and a man by the name of Fenning and Marcus Carr, and the reason I didn't want to mention names, I was afraid I'd forget somebody. And we also found a little group of women that were having a whist party up at Madison Street School once a week. We went up there and played whist with them and got acquainted with them and got them to join our group, and those are the first women we had.
Can you remember any of the ladies' names?
Well, I remember Verna Carr and oh, yes.
Well, you can't remember everyone's name.
Frank Puffy's mother,
Mm-hmm.
and especially Bernice Ryan. And there was about 2 or 3 tables of the whist players that joined us then. And we started to grow a little bit from there. And that was the old Madison Street School where we could meet once in a while, but they decided to tear that down, so we were shunted from there to Rutland Labor Council rooms on Center Street, allowed us to use their rooms for a while, and they moved from there to Evelyn Street, and we were able to use their rooms there for a while, and then for some reason we had to get out of there. I got ahead of my story. The first meeting place we ever had was Phil Valrolli's barber shop on Meadow Street, where we 6 men used to meet quite often. That's where we really started to organize. And eventually we moved from Evelyn Street to underneath the Ross Hunter's building in the basement. Mayor Godnick owned it, and he allowed us in there for free, of course, and some of the people were scared because we were right next to the boiler room there. They were always afraid the boiler was going to blow up, and so he arranged to get us into the basement of the Universalist Church, and we were there until we got the center built. We did enjoy ourselves in the Universalist Church very much, and we grew by leaps and bounds while we were in there. I don't remember what our membership was.
Do you remember the year that took place?
No, but that was the first place that we had a city employee. We had the city hired a director for us at that time, and we could use the place 5 days a week. And
at what time did this year did the city start beginning financial support for the project?
Well, don't recollect. It would have to be, if the center is 8 years old, it would have to be 12 years ago that we started the request for money. At that time, you know, the city was getting big revenue sharing funds, and they were well able to contribute $25,000 a year. In fact, we considered it peanuts.
So actually, maybe it went back to 1973 or 72 when they first started
I would think so.
to give some financial support.
Yes, I would think so.
And what did that financial support consist of?
Well, it consisted of $25,000 a year for 4 years, and of course there was some pretty big interest on that. We got up to $100,000 there before we requested the rest of the bulk of the money to build it.
Well, how did you go about getting the rest of the money? That was a quite interesting story.
Well, we went to the mayor's office, 6 of us men, and just about put in a heavy request or almost a demand for it, and he listened to us. We never were sure if he would, because that's quite a lot of money to ask for it. One jump, $89,000 is what we were asking for.
And who was the mayor at that time?
Mayor Godnick. And
how did he respond?
well, he was very sympathetic to us. In fact, while we're on the subject, only for Gilly Godnick and myself, we never would have had a senior center. I really believe that. Gilly backed me up, and then, as I say, we had a lot of, good backing from some of the seniors. They were getting interested, and they began to believe that they could get a center. Of course, for a long time, no one ever thought of it. So,
did you say that there has been a lot of other people that were involved in the project that long since died and probably forgotten, that that can't receive credit?
That's right. That's why I didn't mention more names, because there were dozens of them that really backed me up. You'd be surprised. You see, we had a lot of public hearings on this thing. I remember one time we had a public hearing in the recreation building up on Center Street, the gymnasium, and we had 200 people attend, and some of them were opponents of it too. We had quite a session there. I mean, it was
Well, what was the opposition?
Gee, I don't like to mention it.
No, I don't mean people, but what were they presenting to the people as an opposition?
The lot where we wanted to build belonged to the city. It used to be the old city reservoir. And it was a good big lot, and the kids did play ball there, but the lot was 3 times the size it would take for a ball field, so they certainly didn't require it all for an athletic field. And the neighbors around, like Bellevue Avenue and Deer Street, didn't want to see anything go in there. It was a wide open space. The city owned it, and they liked it that way.
You really can't blame the neighbors for being opposed to it.
You couldn't really.
No.
But Godnick told them that at a public hearing, he said, sooner or later, something's going in there. And he said, you'll probably like it less than you would a senior center. He said, it looks to me right now like there's a playground going in there. I recall that. So there was a lot of politics concerned there, too.
Well, more or less, that's the way things happen in the United States through politics.
Right. What really helped my cause more than anything else was, I think, when I decided to sign up some of the older aldermen as members of our Rutland Council. And at one time we had 6 aldermen and the mayor in our organization. And don't you think this didn't help us when we wanted something? Because it sure did.
So when was the final decision made to build this center? Or how did that come about?
Well,
Best of your recollection.
of course, we got the okay from the Board of Aldermen and the mayor for the rest of the money. They had to appropriate it.
Did the people have to vote on this project, or?
No, they never voted on it. No, it was strictly put over by the city officials.
And after the center was built, did it live up to expectations?
I might say right here that I'm so happy that the place has been kept as nice as it is. I believe it's just as good as the day it was built. It's clean and new looking inside, and I was a little disappointed because we never had a hotel range in the kitchen so we could put our own feeds on much cheaper than we could buy them when we were under the church, under the Universalist Church. We used to put on our own roast beef dinners and everything. Of course, prices were different then, but we could put on a swell dinner for $1.50 and do the work ourselves, volunteers of course, and buy our roast beef and cook it. They had a hotel range in there, which was more than handy.
Well, the present center employees have had a lot to do with the condition of the
That's
facility.
Right. Ed Griffith, the maintenance man, does a wonderful job. Anybody can go in there, and so far as I can see, the place looks just like it did the day it was built. It's clean and new, and nothing has been vandalized or disturbed,
well, the Rutland city government has, and the people involved have seen to it that it's kept up to date.
Right here we should give Mr. Ciafretti credit for being very efficient. That's a big grounds. He keeps the grounds beautiful, and he brings his work crew in it from the Parks Department. They mow that big lawn there and trim it and water the shrubs and flowers, and well, do everything that should be done properly.
Of course, we have to give credit to whoever is mayor for backing up the people that have the responsibility.
That's right. But Mr. Ciafretti has a big job, and I realize he has a lot of headaches, and I admire him very much.
What is one of the first projects that you were involved in after the center opened?
Well, trying to...
For example, did the center have all the musical entertainment that they needed, or did they have a requirement for a piano or something like that?
Well, once we got a piano, we were able to get some more musicians to join in a piano player, and we had some lovely dances. Had a dance band there real often, still do have. And of course the big attraction always is a free dinner, which we did put on occasionally when we figured we could afford it. Several times we put on a free Kentucky Fried Chicken dinner for the members. And
how did you get the piano?
well, we started soliciting funds. I sent out a circular letter to certain groups at a time, and we had a big fishbowl inside the door where people could donate. And they did donate small amounts of money, like change and dollar bills, and it all helped. We were quite a while getting it, but the fund continually grew. And I remember Mayor Godnick contributed some cash, but I don't remember how much now. I do have the records right here in my desk of the piano fund. When I handled the money, and I didn't want to handle it alone, so I opened a bank account in Mayor Godnick's in my name, with his permission, of course, and I kept him informed of any contributions we got, or the type of piano we wanted when we were getting close to. See, Bertha being our main piano player, why...
You have to say Bertha who?
Bertha Lavanci. I thought everybody knew Bertha. Anyway, Bertha Lavanci was our piano player. She's been a great help to us, entertaining, and so we allowed her to pick out the type of piano we wanted. And I should tell you right now why we didn't have a piano earlier. I talked to Mr. Ciafritti about getting a piano, and I think I'm contradicting myself a little here. We did have offers of second-hand pianos, quite a few. When they found out we really wanted one, I even run an advertisement, not knowing that John Ciafritti said to me, "Frank, I don't want any junk in that center. Anything goes in there should be new." And I thought it over, and I said, "I fully agree with you. Everything is new and lovely in there, and so I guess we should have a new piano." And that's why we never accepted a used one, and that's why we had to raise the money. He told me that BOR, which stands for Bureau of Outdoor Recreation, would not buy anything like that for us. They did buy those picnic tables and chairs and things that are outside there, but like the piano was out.
Well, a project like that kind of helped bring all the people together. Got them working together.
That's right, and they were interested, and we had quite a few people helping us solicit money, of course. Everybody trying to get a word in somewhere to anybody they knew that might help.
After all, what is the senior center for except to convince all those seniors that belong that they're worthwhile and they can still do things that matter, right?
Yes, yeah. But the whole thing, all told, was quite a uphill battle for me, although I never did quit.
Well, I've been told that you're not a quitter.
Well, that's pretty much true.
What do you think of the center right now? Is there anything that you can see that needs to be done?
I think that outside there at night amounts to a stumbling block for seniors. I don't think Mr. Ciafritti realizes that the average senior has poor eyesight at night, and I don't think he realizes that those ornamental lights are nothing more than ornamental lights. They have amber shades on them, which defeats the purpose of the light in the first place. And at one time we had a very nice big yard light out there, and that yard coming out of there at night is absolutely a safety hazard. There are 2 or 3 big rocks they put in there so people wouldn't drive too close to the lawn, and they fall over those. You can't even see them at night. And I did request a while ago that he paint a white stripe around the driveway, because people were complaining to me that they couldn't see the edge of the driveway going out of there on account of the blacktop. And he did that, which made it much nicer. Got a lot of compliments on it. I requested at the same time that he put in that high-intensity light in the front yard. I talked to Dorothy Paul about it, and she said, I wish they'd put one in front and one in back. She said, we have been broken into. She said, I think a light in the back would be some security too. I said, well, the main thing is the front, where we want to see what we're doing. You see, you have all kinds of winter conditions there, and I've seen it so slippery that it's a hazard. Not only that, we feared some women might have their pocketbooks grabbed on them going out through there in the dark. You can't even see people out there.
Frank, I have here an award that you received. Can I read it for you?
Sure, I'd be glad to have it.
It's the National Council of Senior Citizens, Incorporated in Washington, D.C. Community Service Award to Frank B. Moranville is hereby recognized for notable contributions toward achievement of a better life for the elderly in the community. And it's signed by William Hutton, Executive Director, and James Cabray, President. You received that on October 6, 1979.
That's right, yeah.
You were just told me a few minutes ago that you didn't know what to do with it.
Well, I think it should be donated to the Rutland Council, and I think it should be, I always thought our charter and that should be in the senior center, but I know Mr. Ciafritti don't like anything that don't concern the recreation department in there. So the Rutland Council does have the charter. I turned it over to them a while ago.
So all in all, you aside from a few little items, you're really satisfied with.
Oh yes, I think we've done a wonderful job. I think we have a wonderful center, and I think it's wonderful for the seniors. And I couldn't ask for anything, only that yard be lighted.
And of course, the people that have been involved in operating the center and who are responsible for the center have to work within guidelines set by someone else, so perhaps they can't always do what they'd like to do.
That's right, and, absolutely right.
But overall, the senior center is, to me, is the people in this area have a wonderful advantage that other communities don't have.
That's right. They have paid employees to keep the place open for them, and it's a wonderful meal site for them. It don't cost anybody anything for a place to serve. Many of these meal sites for the elderly, they have to pay for and pay rent on them. That was a big problem for us for a while, to find a place to meet. And I found out it isn't easy to get in somewhere when you want to. A group, I mean.
Well, Frank, I think people looking in will realize that Frank Moranville had a lot to do with some of the pleasures that senior citizens have today. And I'm sure they'd all like to thank you personally.
I'm sure they would.
And we would like to thank you also for allowing us to come into your living room.
Well, I appreciate your recognition of me, I'm sure. I never thought it would happen.
This program is titled Around the Town, and this is actually the first time that we've left the studio and got around the town. So you're a first for us, too.
Wow, that's very nice. I'm sorry I'm not in better physical shape, but can't help that, I guess.
Well, you're 85 years old, Frank?
Will be next month.
Will be next month?
Yes.
I have to compliment you on the job that you've done today.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you fellows coming in here. I know you put on a real effort.
Thank you for watching. This has been Around the Town.
Okay, that's it.